This episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast is sponsored by ZuLoo Inc., a benefit corporation dedicated to the goal of universal access to toilets, hygiene, clean water and sanitation through the power of social enterprise. Learn more at ZuLoo.com.
Normally, I would just, we have a little system, we open both doors, it's like a little stall and they go in between the doors. But it was frigid. I was like, if you guys go out there, that stuff's going to be frozen to your tush.
Right.
So at that point, we couldn't do it. We just had to wait to get to a gas station, which was no big deal. Right. But yeah, if you're really out in a remote place and it's frigid, then you got to come up. You just have to plan ahead a little bit.
Right. It's cool.
Moms know how to do that. We can do that.
I think an adventure doesn't really start until you've taken your first poop outside. It's the rest is just daytime.
Yeah.
Welcome to the ZuLoo Poodcast, where we talk all things poop, toilets, and sanitation. Through insightful news, impact stories, and quirky humor, we aim to discuss and highlight the critical role toilets play in whisking poop out of our lives, the impact toilets have, or lack thereof, in the health and wellness of humanity, and what ZuLoo is doing to help solve the current global sanitation crisis.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast. I always say this, I'm extra excited today, but today I am extra plus 10% because we're here with Devin Mattson, who is a very good friend of, you're more than a friend of Melissa. Melissa's my good friend.
Yeah, that's right. The man, the legend.
Yeah, in my phone, you are Devin, Melissa's man.
You're still Jocelyn, Melissa's friend.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I think the new iOS update forced me to update it with your last name. Yeah.
Well, not me. So you're still Melissa's man. And yeah, we're here to talk about a really cool new venture that he has going. But before we do that, we've got some stuff to discuss. Darren, how's life?
Great. Fantastic.
You're looking a little extra tan.
Yeah, Puerto Rico does that to you. The sun, you can't escape it. You know?
I didn't notice it out there, but now that we're here, I'm like, wow, yeah. You've got the whole golden.
That's right. But glad to be back. Do another podcast. We should do a Puerto Rico version.
Yes.
On the beach
Finally.
These times,
Yeah. That I'm not going to be sad about that. In fact, why don't we just do that from January till March?
Yeah,
and forget winter here in Utah.
That's right. It's getting cold. Yeah. We're excited to have Devin on the show, but really, I've got a few items of poo news. That's why everybody really tunes in. The rest of it's all just sort of window dressing. Really,
sorry, Devin, you're window dressing.
I have no problem with that.
But the poo news, actually, this is kind of a snap poll. You recently, and you're kind of a marathoner, right? You're Ironman guy, right? You've done
aspirational.
Yeah. And I know you're a runner.
Run a mean
too,
5K.
Right? I've never done an actual race, but I've run the length of my town.
So this is we do a little snap poll to test your knowledge of the New York City Marathon, which happened a few months ago. Wow. How many portable toilets were installed for the race?
It's got to be in the thousands, 10,000.
10,000?
Thousands, maybe.
Portable toilet. There's 50,000 runners. So how many portable toilets would service that?
I'm going to say 5,000.
5,000? What's
your
10,000.
10,000. Well, they skimped a little bit. There's only 2,000.
What?
2,000.
That's 25 uses per.
Yeah.
That's a lot of traffic.
Okay, this is nuts because I just listened to a woman telling a story about how she had to just pee while she was running. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if it was for lack of a bathroom or she just didn't want it to affect her time. So she just kept peeing and then gave herself hypothermia.
Can you pee and run at the same time?
According to this girl, you can.
I don't know if I could do that. I'd have to stop.
I think I could handle it.
Could you pee and run at the same time?
Oh, yeah, easy.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, no, that's. I know
I can poop and run, but not voluntarily.
It's a big thing in the Tour de France, though. And you have to have the camera crews aware of it. That these guys are just peeing.
They're just going.
Yeah,
it seems like they could fashion something for these, ultra runner athlete people, so that it's not just coming down their leg.
Like a little bag or something.
I don't know. I mean,
but then it's
they have super
weight.
absorbent underwear. What about that? Like they
Like a
have it for
diaper.
women in their periods.
It's called a diaper.
Well, no, like Thinx. They have that really absorbent underwear when you're on your period, and then you don't have to wear a pad or a tampon.
Huh.
Seems like they could do that for urine.
That's like one of the number one reasons for dropouts in ultramarathons is GI issues.
Yeah.
I was talking to some buddies that were doing
Okay,
100
poop,
milers.
that would be harder. You're
Yeah.
right. That's a diaper. I'm just thinking of pee.
Yeah, pee.
Yeah.
I guess it's it's just water, right?
I think
Yeah.
if you're Kipchoge and you're trying to win it, like it's going to be a difference. But
Right.
for me, if I'm trying to break 4 hours, like I'm just going to pull over and pee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had 1,500 of those toilets were installed at the starting line, including 35 wheelchair accessible units. And the rest of them were spread along the route.
I cannot believe that. Wait, what'd you say? 2,000 for
2,000.
50,000 people?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Ask New York City.
That makes no sense. New York, we need an explanation.
Yeah. So another question is how many, when you're spacing out the rest of the toilets, so you have 1,500 on the starting line or close to the
This
starting
is sounding
line.
like a math problem.
And then the rest of them, the other 500 are spread along the route. How many portable toilets do you put along the route?
So 500 over
One
25
every 5 miles, one every 3 miles, or one every 1 mile?
This is a story problem. This is where my brain shuts
Oh
off.
man, I need a
I don't
piece of
know.
paper.
The answer is A. No, I'm just kidding. You have a guess?
25 miles, 500 toilets. Those are the two
Just
numbers.
listen to his
yeah,
brain work
but
and figure it out.
Yeah, the lights are making me panic.
Yeah, it's 20. It was 26.4 miles. Is that the right?
26.2.
26.2. So
But I was just doing 25 for round. If I was doing a mental math, but you got a calculator on that iPhone.
yeah, they at least had one toilet every mile, and so the other 450 were divided by what is it?
It'd be 20 toilets every mile, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly
Sounds
right.
good.
Anyway, so every mile they had some toilets. So
So
Not
20
enough.
toilets every mile.
if you didn't do it at the starting line, okay, you had an opportunity, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, some runners may just just run while you go.
I mean, if I were in a marathon, which will probably never happen, but I can totally see the temptation to just go. You're in the zone. You don't want to stop. You don't want to break your flow. And so you're just like, well, this is what the ultra athletes do, right? They don't care about this stuff. I don't care what the person behind me is seeing. So I'd probably just go for it.
Yeah, probably. It's good. The other question is has to do with one of your most favorite things to do, and that is living out of a van.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This article is.
Well, Devin did actually live. Like for me, it's a fantasy. For him, it was a reality.
So
like he actually made
right.
that dream come true.
So the question is, if you're going to live out of a van, is it better to have a toilet in the van or not?
I have strong opinions on this.
Okay,
let's hear it.
Yeah, just don't even bother with it. Like it takes up too much real estate and you never want to use it. Like you're always close enough to a gas station or a campsite. Like there's some people that might fight me on that, but like it takes a lot of valuable real estate and it's also right in your kitchen. I'm a big proponent. And then for the plumbing and the water, you have to winterize it. It makes running your van exponentially more complicated.
Okay. Yeah,
in a van, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it that close to where am all the time. If it were a bigger RV or something, then I'd say it'd be nice to have it in it. But in a van, I'd say leave it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're both go without the toilet.
Yeah.
You can get like if you're doing like wilderness stuff, you can get like a groover that you could pull out. Like if you're going to go camp on some BLM land for a while, you can take one with you. But like having the plumbing and having like that actual setup.
Or just a bucket with cat litter. That works too.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
That makes sense. So yeah, this article is talking about the pros and cons of having a toilet in your van. And I guess in some places it also limits your ability to park because you're technically, if you have a toilet with a tank, you're an RV, and they don't allow it. Whereas if you're just a van, parked somewhere, they do talk about in this article more space for essentials, like bikes and what have you. It'd be interesting to do a poll of van livers, see what. So you would go without a toilet.
I would.
You just go out.
Yeah, I'm a resounding no
at
on
this
that.
point, well, I have perfected the art of peeing outside for a woman a long time ago. I've got strategies. There's a way to prevent the backsplash.
Funnel, the funnel thing.
There's
or
the
whatever.
shiwi.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things that just make it so much easier. Now, number two, is it kind of a different situation, but even still, I wouldn't want it in my van. It's just too tight of quarters.
Yeah. So it talks about, obviously like the inconvenience of it. Oh, I've got to go find a toilet versus having one. Hygiene.
Yeah.
I guess hygiene could go either way, right? Hygiene, great if it's working. If something goes wrong, maybe not so good. Weather dependent factors, depending on, and also where are you going to be, right? Are you going to be in an urban setting, or somewhere else, right?
Over Thanksgiving, my girls and I drove down to southern Utah, and it was not warm. Like it was blizzardy and really windy, and they had to pee. And normally I would just we have a little system. We open both doors. It's like a little stall and they go in between the doors. But it was frigid. I was like, if you guys go out there, that stuff's going to be frozen to your tush.
Right.
So at that point, we couldn't do it. We just had to wait to get to a gas station, which was no big deal. Right. But yeah, if you're really out in a remote place and it's frigid, then you got to come up. You just have to plan ahead a little bit.
Right. It's cool.
Moms know how to do that. We can do that.
I think an adventure doesn't really start until you've taken your first poop outside. It's the rest is just day hikes before that. But once you kind of commit and you dig a hole or you do whatever you got to do, then you're kind of in it. Then you're kind of it's the real detachment from your just modern day-to-day
That's a
life.
much more vulnerable position. And that's only happened to me in emergencies where I'm doing it because I have no choice, not because I've chosen to do it.
Right.
And it's oh man, this is going to happen now, whether I like it or not. And then it's a panic.
Right.
But being intentional about the pooping outside, I can see where it's you're owning it and it's a totally different experience.
Yeah. And it's it's the second chapter of the adventure begins the minute you vacate. Yeah.
It seemed like a happy medium would be one of like a portable toilet, like a camper toilet where you could remove it. It's not embedded into the vehicle.
You could put it in the back
and all that stuff. You just remove it, take it outside if you needed to. That would be a good combo.
The stuff that they use on rafting trips, if you're in the Grand Canyon, they take a groover with you, and it's because you have to haul out all the solid waste. Something like that's perfect for a van.
Right.
If you're really going to be remote. Yeah.
Right. So, you have experience because you were telling us before the show, you had actually built out a Sprinter van, after your prior marriage or whatever.
Tell us about being divorced and pissed off.
Yeah, no, I was divorced and living in a van. I was the whole Matt Foley, early 90s SNL. Divorced. The profile. And this is I don't know if this is just an indictment on the dating scene in Provo, but your friend swiped right on a profile that just said divorced, down with books, bikes, and van living. It was all there was.
Because Melissa's amazing.
Yeah. No, she liked that van. We had a lot of fun. So no, I went through a divorce when I was in graduate school and I bought a Sprinter after that. There was some stuff I did to it, but mostly I have a friend who outfits them back in Ogden, Jason at Van Life Design. And we just did kind of a no frills build. The most important thing if you're going to do a van is just to get it insulated first. That helps with the noise and it helps keep it from not getting too terribly cold at night or too terribly hot during the day if you're in Texas like I was.
Yeah.
And then, you kind of go from there. If people are thinking about, we can talk vans all day. Probably know more about those than I do about gut health. But if you're going to do it, I always encourage people to not try and do everything all at once. It's not like building your dream home where you can just think you can guess at everything you're ever going to want. Just kind of build the minimum thing that you think you're going to need and then start doing some trips. And then you think I miss having this, but I don't really notice that I thought I would miss having this and I've never actually felt a need for it.
There's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, just kind of play around with it, and it's easier that way too financially because you can just sort of build it up over 2 or 3 years instead of all at once.
That's good advice. Yeah, taking notes.
I am 100% taking notes, and we will get to the yogurt. But I'm curious. First of all, how long were you in it, and did you find it difficult to park it? Because when I started looking into it, parking it I was like, oh, this is much more of a hassle than I realized because there's so many places that don't allow you to park. But you were in a van, which is not considered an RV because it has no toilet. So what was that like?
Well, yeah. And there aren't cops that are knocking on the doors of vans asking you if you have toilets. If it is a law, it's not super enforced in Walmart parking lots, which is where I was sleeping. I built that van, Jason built that van in 2018. spent a month or so in it that summer. And then I was in graduate school at UT Austin. And so there's two different, like the main thing is that you have to take considerations if you live in a city. And that's that, parking garages you can't do, like the roof's too high, or, just a lot of like, it's just sort of an awkward vehicle. There are different classes of vans. So like I had a Mercedes Sprinter in the 144 length. So it's actually just about the same length as like an F-150.
Mm-hmm.
So like getting into like parking spots, yeah, you kind of have to do like a 3-point turn every now and then, but it's really not that bad. Parking garages, you'd have to take into consideration. But I mean, I've parallel parked that thing on Fillmore Street in San Francisco. So it's like you can get around in a city if you have to. When you're out and about,
because the wheelbase, I mean, the footprint of the wheelbase is the same as a truck.
Same as a pickup. Yeah, exact same as a pickup. And they're a little taller. Like, or if I got the high roof on mine, and that's I'm 6'1", I could stand up all the way in that van. With that, when you're kind of out and about, if you want to do like kind of the primitive camping experience, just find some public land. You sleep in a quiet neighborhood. A lot of times, though, you're sort of on your way somewhere else, and so it's just a big priority. Like, look, I just need 6 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
So I would just pull off, and like this was a lot of these trips were like out in West Texas or New Mexico. And I would just pull in next to the diesels at gas stations. And there was kind of this strength in numbers. Like I was like, you could hear the diesel running, this is a well-lit parking lot, safe enough. I would just lock the doors and, it's not like, you don't really sleep in when you're living in a van and you're next to diesel. So it's like, you just kind of wake up when you're ready. And I would just go into the gas station, grab an energy drink and hit the highway.
So would you have a generator that's running? Do you have an AC?
Do you have an
AC that's running?
No, you can. I had like a ceiling vent with a fan.
Because I'm thinking in Texas, you'd be like baking.
The best thing I did in Texas.
At night.
Yeah.
Like when you're sleeping at night, you'd just be.
I was sleeping higher, and then I had these little side panel windows that were just, like yay high, about like that. And I would just open them so I'd get a cross breeze.
Okay.
And that kind of did it. That was enough for me in Texas. Like it wasn't too, it was hot, but, running the fan, running the vent, you kind of have to like.
So you would have a fan kind of blowing.
No, I didn't. I would just have the breeze. Yeah.
Okay.
I had a ceiling fan that was a vent that was cut into the roof.
Okay.
I didn't use it
to vent out. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't use it that much though. It was, there were solar panels on the roof. And so that would I could, charge appliances or charge my phone, or I could have lights, like it would charge the lights. So it was kind of the separate power system. So the van didn't have to be running while I was working on it. Yeah.
Cause I grew up in Texas, camping, scouting, and it was always a matter of survival. Like, how can I make it through?
Like, how do you not,
overheat? Without dying of overheating.
Oh yeah.
So, anyway, but yeah, interesting. But van, obviously you've got it's got some ventilation.
Oh yeah.
issues.
I mean, and I never tried to take a nap in it in the middle of the day in Texas.
Right.
Like it was just like, the sleep's not that great. Like your face is going to be sticky and you're like, it's just like sleeping in a tent in Texas, but it's manageable.
Yeah. You do say some people that have vans with showers in them too, right? No?
No, I've seen that. I mean, you can outfit a van with just about anything, but it's like, what do you give up for?
Well, one of the big styles on the van is that you actually have the toilet and then you have the shower. You close the toilet.
It's like a whole wet room.
Yeah. So you double up the sure footage on that. Yeah, it works. I mean, I would just kind of find a river though. Like I didn't you're never, maybe getting too personal. I'm not a big shower. Like, it's like, conserve water. Like, if you've had like one or two good workouts, yeah, sure, shower. But like, other than that, like you're already living in a van and it already stinks. Like,
you were by yourself for a while, right? You were, you weren't like trying to.
I wasn't trying to impress
anyone.
No,
you're like, whatever. I'll shower every once in a while.
I had 2 shirts with buttons on them in that van, and like I had to double them up, and I had to just run through every permutation of that outfit when I met Melissa.
Okay,
because there was just I don't have any clothes. Like,
Melissa's like, I think I've seen that shirt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was this little Patagonia button down with dogs on it. Like it was like, it wasn't like discreet.
Okay.
Yeah. I still have it.
That's cool.
Okay, when I am doing my podcast on van life,
Mhm.
I'm going to have you back. We'll talk. We'll really dive into this. But I love talking about it. I mean, I've known you for a couple years. I don't know how long you guys have been together. But
5, I think.
has it been 5 years? Oh my gosh,
well,
that's been really fast.
2024 will be 5.
Okay.
That's awesome.
But I think you are a pretty fascinating guy, and you have like a very eclectic background. You've been around the world. You've done really cool things. You've had your fingers in a lot of pies, like we were talking about earlier. But your latest thing is this yogurt.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to try it at a farmer's market this summer, but by the time I got there, it was totally sold out. So it seems like it's doing really, really well. So with this like background in all of these things, you know, you were in, well, I'll let you tell us, like, how did you get here from where you were?
Yeah, I can give you like the little 2-minute. I would say I moved back to Utah from Texas, but I grew up in upstate New York and then Ogden, Utah. Went to BYU,
which is awesome, by the way.
Ogden rules.
We've established Ogden is amazing.
Ogden.
I have nothing. Yay.
Take it. Yeah, so I grew up in Ogden and then went to BYU. I was a double major in economics and political science.
Wow.
And then
I accidentally changed my major to economics.
Oh yeah,
thinking we were going to be studying like kind of broad theory, and
all
the
calculus.
professor starts writing like this math on the board, and I'm like, "Am I in the right class?" They're like, "Oh yeah, economics." I'm like, "Drop it."
No, we probably had some of the same professors.
Yeah, well, I switched to political science. Just that's the only thing I could get A's in, you know. But anyway,
political science helped me because I could write. Like I could write, and then I could kind of struggle my way through the econ classes.
Oh yeah.
And then you know I graduated during the recession, and so you know it's kind of this thing where you're like, well, what's countercyclical? And it's like government work, and so I applied and I got an internship at the White House. So I worked for President Obama in 2009, 2010. I extended it for a little bit.
Cool.
And, you know, just kind of like a entry-level economist. We would write his daily economic briefings and travel memos and stuff. And like this, that's like 2% of my day, right? Most of the time was just keeping smarter people caffeinated, right? So a lot of coffee runs, a lot of like,
right. Whatever needs to be done.
We were just trying to get through that. And did that, you know, my last day, my exit interview, our chief economist, who was a professor at Yale, who was on leave for 2 years, and he sat me down and he said, "Devin, you're not very good at this. You need to find something you're passionate about and don't look at a paycheck until you're 30. It was the best advice I ever got because I was
brutally honest.
It was so honest, and I wasn't good at it. He also told me on a side note not to be a lawyer or go into investment banking because he said I wouldn't be good at those things either. And it was right. And so that kind of like set me off on this little like sort of journey. I dabbled a lot. I worked for a clean tech company in San Francisco for a bit. I came back to Utah and worked for Qualtrics for 3 years, kind of, you know, after the basement days, before the big days. Moved back to San Francisco, worked for Dropbox and a couple other tech companies there. And then I wanted to go to graduate school. So I moved to Austin and got my MBA, and then I worked for a venture capital firm there. But then, you know, we talked about some of the personal stuff there. Tech, I kind of, you know, I stopped loving it as much as I had before. There were things about it that were super interesting. I love the people I got to work with. But the problems and stuff, I couldn't really, you know, there were things I could easily compartmentalize. I just stopped thinking about them at the end of the day. And there were things that I wanted to find more meaning in my career. And so, you know, your friend Melissa runs Ethic. I helped her get that off the ground. I worked there for 3 years as a chief operating officer. We hired a great team.
Super cool company.
Yeah.
Super great.
Cool.
Yeah. No,
we've had Melissa on the show, and Melissa has helped us get connected with Mira in India.
Totally. Yeah.
Fantastic. She's a great friend. You know.
I'm a distant second as far as like podcasts guests go in our family. Oh shoot, we got a 2-year-old now. Maybe I still make the podium, but that's about it.
Stella is a boss. We'll have her on here soon, I'm sure.
Kid. And so, yeah, like it was kind of this thing where it's like, oh, like I was just reevaluating a lot of things in life. Like, so working in that aspect of like international development was super interesting. And then, you know, when I was in Austin, Whole Foods was headquartered right there. And I was interested in health and wellness and that type of stuff. And a friend who he's an old roommate of mine from San Francisco. He was out visiting about a year ago, and we were talking about. Well, I mean, we'll cut. Should we just bookend the that's the history. Now we'll talk about. Okay, yeah. So we were talking about some of these some stuff we were talking mainly about mental health, and like we kind of had this like ongoing conversation where they're like, is this like, you know, there's this mental health epidemic going on, but are we addressing it the right way? Like we're just trying to throw stuff at it, but is brain failure more like organ failure? And so we started talking about like dietary interventions. And he said, you know, I've had, you know, a lot of anxiety throughout my life, but I've been able to start treating it with this like holistic approach. And one of those things that he'd been getting into was making yogurt. And so, you know, most of the yogurt that you eat isn't really yogurt. Like it's kind of
like sugar with some fruit in it.
Yeah, lightly cultured dairy, and it's usually synthetically cultured. So they just throw some probiotic in there, and then a lot of sugar. Like it's really like, and if you want to, and you can taste the difference by just going to any country other than the U.S. and just eating yogurt, and it tastes very different.
Very different.
It's more tart and acidic than sugary. And so he showed me how to make this yogurt recipe that he'd been doing for a little while, and so for yogurt to be called yogurt by the FDA, you need a certain set of probiotics within it, right? And there's just these really specific strands, and it's just kind of checking the box. There isn't like a standard on how much of that probiotic that it has to have. And so what we started doing was we're like, okay, well, what if instead of doing the bare minimum, what if we just add, you know, the max? And so we took the four required, the four that you're supposed to have. And then they recently isolated these two new strands called Lactobacillus gastriae and Lactobacillus reuteri. And so we did these cross cultures and came up with a recipe that
these are the little bugs that little bacteria.
Yeah, you know
they're called.
You know, there's the Walt Whitman line. You know, he says, "I contain multitudes." Right? Like it's literally true. Like we're
billions of little organisms.
Oh yeah. There's just that our gut is just made up of so many different things. And like, and you know, honestly, when we talk about our microbiome, most people think gut. There's many different distinct microbiomes in your body. Your mouth is one. So if, you know, canker sores or cold sores, that's a symptom of, you know, having like a probiotic deficiency. My wife has asthma. And so she takes albuterol, and it gives her really bad thrush. When she eats yogurt, it clears up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
so then you were talking about the whole, you know, your Whole Foods friend. It's like, hey, we got this recipe, the yogurt recipe, and so you decided, hey, I think I'll start a company called, you know, Devin's
Good Poops Yogurt.
Good Poops Yogurt.
Yeah. How do you go from making it it sounds like for personal reasons to deciding, hey, maybe this could be a thing.
Could do a commercial version of it.
I think it's an all too common story. Like I was just making it in my house. My neighbors wanted too much of it. So, you know, I had 2 or 3 these, like there's these little 2-quart Louvel yogurt makers that you can get online. And I had them going nonstop. And, you know, as soon as the batches were done, my neighbors were getting it, or I was giving it to friends and they were wanting more. And I was sort of reluctant. I was like, you know, we already have a couple businesses. Like we don't need to start another one. And, you know, I was like, oh, you know, this might be just a fun summer project. And so, you know, we incorporated, I got some space in a commercial kitchen. I learned how dairy is regulated. I made friends with the dairy inspector, and he comes by once a month and he takes a sample and he tells me if it passes, and they have. They all have. Yeah.
Or is this the batch that didn't specify what's here?
This is good. This is good.
And so I noticed you have your logo is a little somebody, I don't know if you can see this, but it's
we'll have to put it somewhere.
There's a guy eating yogurt on the toilet.
Oh yeah.
Right. So it's not just, oh, hey, let's do some microbiome, kind of a cool tech name, but you just decided to go right for the the good poop.
I mean, I think
as a selling point.
Yeah, I think you say the quiet part out loud. Like if you see someone at the grocery store and their shopping cart is just a bunch of Tums, yogurt, and toilet paper, they're feeling a little spicy right now. Like they need something to chill out. Like anytime, I would go to the grocery store and I would just buy a single, quart of kefir, It was it's because I'd eaten, too much Thai food the night before.
That's right.
To kind of chill out. Yeah.
I know how that feels. Yeah. I was going to ask if Jocelyn, have you ever eaten yogurt on the toilet like this?
I have a pretty strict rule about food in the bathroom.
Okay,
those
so
you're not mutually exclusive.
You're not multitasking.
I'm not a good multitasker.
So cool. So so now you're making this on a commercial level, yeah? And you've been selling it, I've heard, in local farmers markets. And how's that going?
We do local farmers markets, and we're available in the market where we make the yogurt. So Lemon and Sage down in Springville.
Okay.
You can buy the yogurt there, and then we also do set catering. So a friend runs a catering business, and so he'll take this for a breakfast spread.
Okay.
I am dying to try it. Can we try it? Because I've been waiting since this summer, and it just never happened. So and these are not flavored, right?
No, they're not. But look at that. Like that's how yogurt's supposed to be. Like look at that thickness. The interesting thing is we didn't have refrigeration until the 1920s, and so culturing dairy was a way of preserving it for the longest time.
I'm gonna smell it. Oh, it smells good.
Strong.
It almost smells like a gummy cheese.
It's way thicker than I would imagine.
If I do this, it's gonna just hold, right?
Yeah. I mean,
nope,
not quite.
There's a little too much weight in there.
There's some gravity going on. But here's a spoon.
Okay, thank you. Do you do flavors or do you just do plain?
I think people know how to flavor the stuff they want. And sweetness is kind of it's a continuum. I add a little bit of honey or a little bit of maple syrup to it if I don't want the tart. But over time, I've actually gotten more used to it. So the way we culture this yogurt, most commercial yogurts, cultured for a few hours.
Yeah.
We culture this for 36. And so what happens over that time is that the amount of living bacteria in that culture increases exponentially. So after about 12 hours to about 30 hours, it's just on this really hockey stick shaped growth curve. And then after that, it's kind of eaten up the lactose that's in the milk. And it's eventually, hit a pH that's more of a homeostasis for it. And then we take it out. And so we culture it at body temperature to kind of replicate what the gut is actually at. So it's the ideal conditions for growth for these things. And it shows in the results. So we sent this stuff to an independent lab in Wisconsin over the summer. And we have about 300 times the amount of probiotic that, store-bought yogurt has.
Okay, so yeah, it's. This one's cold. I guess you have to refrigerate it, right? That's sort of a.
Yeah, but it's safer than you might assume because like I said earlier, the fermenting foods was a way of keeping them safe 100 years ago,
right? And
so this yogurt is cultured to a pH of about 3.9, which means that Salmonella and E. coli can't grow in it. And so it's more shelf stable than you would think, but it tastes better refrigerated. Can you repeat
that one more time? It's salmonella. Say it again.
Oh, yeah. So the foodborne illnesses, foodborne that people are really scared of, are salmonella or E. coli, and those are just awful cases of food poisoning. The pH in this, the culture becomes acidic enough because the bacteria takes the lactose in the milk, turns it into lactic acid. It adds enough acidity that those bacteria can't grow in the yogurt. And so we're really rigid about the how sanitary we make the process. So all of these containers are boiled before we put the milk in. We keep everything super hygienic in the process because we don't want to introduce any bacteria at the onset. That's one of the difficulties. And that's why, the yogurt, that's why we're so closely inspected by.
Yeah. So are you selling it always in these big jars?
We do pints too.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you have a website? If I wanted to order some, I imagine shipping it's pretty difficult.
Well, for you, Jocelyn, I know where you live, right? We can help you out. We're working on it.
Bring it to a Christmas party.
We have a little experimental business model we're calling YAS. So in tech, I worked in SaaS, which is software as a service. We're calling this yogurt as a service. We're doing weekly delivery.
That's awesome.
You can check us out on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way to find us. And if you direct message us, it'll be either me or my wife, Melissa, or my cousin, Mason, who's my co-founder on this.
Is it Devin's Good Poops Yogurt.
Good Poops Yogurt on Instagram. And I think our website is just Good Poops Yogurt.
Just Good Poops. Okay, got it.
We also have the domain for trustyourgutbro.com, and that might redirect.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. So, so you can't, I guess as long as it's refrigerated, you could ship it, right?
Yeah.
You could ship it in a cold container.
I shipped it to Wisconsin to get it tested in the lab. So,
okay, got it.
One of the things I forgot to mention though is the people that have resonated with this. If you ever did any of your kids ever have colic?
No.
Oh.
We lucked out.
Yeah, we did too. But those little colic drops that Gerber makes, the only ingredient in that is Rootery, which is one of 6 different probiotics that's in this yogurt. And so there's research on it that shows that it's one of the only things that's been shown to reduce crying time in colicky children.
Oh, interesting.
The other really cool thing about Rootery, and this goes back to like the mental health aspect, is, all of these neurotransmitters that you have that you may be deficient in one or another, they're all produced and stored in your gut. So, 90% of your serotonin sits in your gut. Same with oxytocin, dopamine, all of that. And probiotics are actually a way of upregulating those to your brain. And so Rootery in particular has been shown to improve levels of oxytocin, which is kind of like this sort of overall well-being feeling in brains. Certain yogurts have also been shown to reduce anxiety and depression in rats and lab mice too. So it's a fascinating. I think like the more we dig into gut health, I think we're definitely in the early innings of it. We're going to discover more and more about how, our body isn't just a collection of independent systems. Like these things all work together. Mm-hmm. And the connection between the gut and the brain is especially fascinating.
Yeah, I've read elsewhere in other articles about the gut-mind connection. If your gut's off, then your brain's not working well.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So are your poops better with this?
Oh, definitely. They were never bad though, to begin with. Just to clarify.
So like this consistency, or is it more?
Well, so I have a friend.
This actually is not a good.
Yeah, that's not. You don't want it to look like soft serve.
You don't want it doing this because it's likely too runny, right?
I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at a poop like that, but I wouldn't. I would say there's still work to do, right? Yeah. Yeah. So like doctors have, like the poop scale, like there's the 7, like 1 is just way too constipated, and then all the way to diarrhea. And you kind of want to sit in that sweet spot.
Middle spot.
Yeah. And so I have friends who we have small sample sizes, but they've charted their poops. And I had a friend who had his first 2 poops in a day, or his first day with 2 poops.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's not scientifically valid, right? Like we don't have a sample size, there were no control variables, but
I've heard about those people. I was like, that doesn't exist. But I've met a few people that actually poop twice a day. I'm like, wow. That seems like
that's the goal.
I want to ask you how often you poop, but I don't know if that's too personal.
No, I mean, it maybe. Here, I'll tell you the truth. It's like every other day.
Every other day. Okay.
Oh, so maybe, I know it's not good.
Home.
I was going to say, maybe I should take a jar and then I can be.
And you can see if you start at least pooping once a day. I mean, I heard once a day is sort of the baseline.
Yeah.
You should be pooping at least once a day.
I think it's like once every time you eat a big meal.
Oh, that's me. That's me.
Yeah.
And sometimes twice.
Yeah, but I mean, get to once a day, but don't settle for it.
Okay.
I think look, I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not any of these things. This isn't going to cure cancer or anything miraculous like that. It's part of a healthy diet. So just, get a lot more vegetables, eat some yogurt, and drink a lot of water. And you'll probably start going 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah. Diet by Devin. I buy it.
Yeah.
I think it sounds great.
So, Jocelyn, you're going to take this home, and
I will absolutely take that home, and I will return and report.
Okay.
But did you notice, with the taste, it's stronger than you thought, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It tastes like
it's got a great flavor.
It tastes more European, almost like Icelandic.
Yeah,
exactly.
It is very, very tart, but I love that. To me, that's better than the sweet. The sweet, if a yogurt has too much sugar in it, it's like,
what's the point?
It's like ice cream.
Yeah.
Then I don't feel like I'm getting benefits from it.
It tastes like what's the brand with the
Chobani.
Oh, yeah.
It's similar to that.
I think it tastes a little bit like Siggy's.
Oh, yeah. The Icelandic style.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things is in selling this yogurt, what I'm hearing a lot is that it really reflects the experience that people had in, whether they're from Mexico or Europe or India of, my grandmother used to make yogurt.
Yeah.
And she would just, we had the starter and we would just put milk on it and it would sit for a few days. And it's this slow food, right? it's like bread. If you have
gotta
a loaf
earn
of bread,
it yeah.
Sometimes it takes a little while.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, maybe, we hope maybe we can talk you into having it on the marketplace. Maybe, we do have some way to ship it. We do have some gut healthy products on the marketplace, which, this I think would be great.
I'm happy to test this one, let you know how it goes. If anyone wants an update on how often I'm pooping.
Yes. We need to know.
But yeah, we're both trying some things right now that we're selling on the marketplace, and it's kind of fun. Oh, okay. Side note, I installed my Brondell bidet.
All right.
This weekend.
That's fantastic.
It is amazing.
Oh, they sent you one?
They sent it to me. It took me, I'll be honest, like installing it, I didn't
even
attempt it. Well, I didn't even try. So
you
did
got
it for me. Yeah.
Okay.
But now that it's in, first of all, that heated seat is heaven, especially first thing in the morning. Like it just kind of eases you into consciousness. Yeah. And then there's a light on it. My girls have not quite figured it out. There's been some incidents with like just a tiny fountain behind their tush, but we'll get there. Okay. I love it. It's incredible.
Awesome. That's great.
For people that have never tried it before, it's a little bit of an adjustment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. We'll let our friends at Brondell know about it.
Yeah, for sure. So it's incredible. That is a fantastic Christmas gift. If anyone is wondering what to give someone in their life, Brondell is one of our marketplace partners. We've been co-sponsoring some products and highlighting the World Toilet Day. How was your World Toilet Day? How'd it go? It was
November 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
World Toilet Day.
It was a good one. I'll have to look back on my journal, but
sometimes
it might have been
so good you don't remember.
Yeah, sometimes it comes and goes and you forgot about it. Oh yeah, that's right. It's World Toilet Day.
I only really remember the bad toilet days, right?
Oh, okay.
Like the celebrations more just kind of.
That's right. You remember those incidents. Yeah. So
the non-event is to be celebrated when it comes to poop a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's Devin's, Good Poops Yogurt.
GoodPoopsYogurt.com.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is very, very good. If you guys could see it anywhere, I highly recommend grabbing it.
We're a small business. You can just reach out to us directly, like on Instagram. That's the easiest way. If you want us to ship it, we'll find a way.
Okay. Awesome.
Devin, thank you so much for coming. It's been a blast. And truly, if I ever do a van life something, you'll be one of my first guests.
Yeah. Great.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the ZuLoo Poodcast. Follow us on social media at our links in the show notes below. To learn more, visit our website, ZuLoo.org. If you liked the podcast, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. For even more ZuLoo fun, send us an email with your toilet stories to podcast@zuloo.com for a chance to be featured on the podcast. This episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast is sponsored by ZuLoo Inc., a benefit corporation dedicated to the goal of universal access to toilets, hygiene, clean water and sanitation through the power of social enterprise. Learn more at ZuLoo.com.